Block Sports. Big 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 Block Sports.
Big Block Sports, we are live. We are upcoming on week 7 NFL action. We just passed week 6. We had a couple teams on bye. Another exciting weekend of football. A lot of teams. One that I picked, I believe my record was 12-2 because the Bills, and I want to say the Broncos let me down. It's unfortunate. But it was a good week pick-wise overall. I know I had about 2 weeks where I was kind of sketch. I was like 10-6, 11-7-ish. But now that the bye weeks are coming up, I had a pretty good week there. 49ers on a bye last week, and it got me to thinking about something that I never really noticed before. And you can let me know if you've experienced the same thing as your team's bye week comes up in the coming weeks here. But bye week blues are real. I'm not sure I remember any season where I just found myself not sure what to do with my Sunday. I mean, obviously I wanted to watch some football, I just wasn't as into the games, I guess, as I am when I know either we will be playing at 1 o'clock or we will be playing at 4 o'clock or, Sunday night football. But what are things that you do when your team is on a bye week? What do you do to get over bye week blues? Go ahead and leave that in the comments below. If you're listening on Spotify or on Castbox or whatever platform you're on, go ahead and you can DM me on Instagram at Big Block Sports. I'm also on Twitter at Big Block Sports. Again, if you're joining me here on YouTube, thank you. Welcome back. Click the like, click the subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when I upload each week's podcast. I've been hovering between Tuesdays and Thursdays kind of here. Last week was a really tight stretch because I was leaving, like I said, to go to Vegas. So I was able to squeeze it in. I'm a little behind this week due to some circumstances here at home that, I have a job, and as much as I would love to sit here and talk with football about you guys every day, every night, I can't pay my bills. So sometimes I'm a little behind. But I know you guys look forward to these episodes, and I appreciate you guys looking forward to these episodes. And it really means a lot to me when people reach out to me to tell me how much they enjoy the show and they're tuned in and they're waiting for next week's episode, or they tell me that was a terrible take. All of it. I love all of it because I'm full of awesome takes, and I'm also full of less than awesome takes, but mostly awesome. But I rather enjoyed the slow weekend after my Vegas trip. Not sure I would have had the stamina to sit through more checkdowns, more offensive woes, more injuries. It would have just compounded the stress that I already deal with on game day. So I'm glad I was able to just kind of sit. I watched NFL Red Zone all weekend. I laughed a lot. Mostly I laughed at those who doubted my Lamar Jackson MVP talk from last week's episode. Again, Lamar Jackson is the MVP of the league thus far. So I enjoyed watching Lamar Jackson run and throw all over the Chargers, and the Ravens dominated. I laughed at the Dolphins because, that's what we do. We laugh at the Dolphins. I cheered for the Jags. I was actually in the middle of Walmart at 9:10-ish or so when the game was ongoing. And I happened to catch that last second field goal. And, I gave a little fist pump for the Jags because I picked them to win the game. I just felt it was their time. And when you need, when you need something to get you over the hump, when you're on a downward trend and you need something to make you feel better about yourself, It's always the Miami Dolphins to, to help you out with that. So thanks to the NFL app for allowing me to experience that in the middle of Walmart, right between cherry tomatoes and golden yellow potatoes. I was cheering for the Jaguars. I saw the Browns get worked. Again, I have not been high on the Browns ever. They lost like I said they would. And it's a good feeling when you pick it. Let me not say it's a good feeling that, they went through failures and they lost and Baker got hurt. I'm not saying that I wish negative things upon them. I'm just saying when I see things or when I analyze the way a game would go and it turns out that the game goes exactly the way that I thought it would go, it feels good to know that your eyes and your mind and your thought and stuff is not lying to you. So good feeling. Again, 12-2. I picked the Jags game, which almost did happen. I was like, that last second kick went through. Again, every 1 o'clock game, I want to say, just like it was last week, literally, on NFL Red Zone, they put all 2, 3, 4 games or whatever at the end, and all the kickers kicked the ball simultaneously in 2 different games at the end. One kicker made it, one kicker did not. So that was an interesting experience in watching simultaneous last-second field goals. And then Monday night, right? The slip heard around the world. Josh Allen, 4th and 1, down 3. That was fun to watch. I appreciate Sean McDermott playing to win. And while he didn't get the W in this case, what he did gain from me, and he should gain from a lot of people that watch football, is a huge amount of respect. Because that is coaching in today's NFL, and that's going to be coaching in 2021 and beyond. And that's the future of the NFL. More and more teams will see all 4 downs as useful opportunities to convert first downs. And speaking of the future of the NFL, that leads me to my favorite part of the show. The music starts playing. I get a little groove going. And I just got to set it off, And how am I going to set it off this week? No more theatrics like last week in my Lamar Jackson pause for effect. This week, I'll really just be talking about how the NFL could set it off by embracing these couple of things that I see are the future of the NFL, right? The NFL is already here, at least in my book, but they could take it here. Now, some of these are bold. Some of these might be considered extreme. Some of these may be difficult to implement, but I don't care. It's my show. Figure it out, NFL. But I know with my skill set of knowledge and experience with the NFL game, these are some things that can enhance the NFL experience, not only for players and coaches. I'm also thinking about you guys, the fans that watch these games like myself, that hang, on every play, on every snap. There are so many ways that we could take advantage of technology and other such things to further enhance the NFL experience. Now, when I say this is the future, this is what I want to see in the future of the NFL, do I expect them to turn this around in, the next couple of months for next season? I doubt it. But I could see in the next 2, 3, 5, extreme 10 years, these things being a part of the NFL. As I go through, they'll get more and more extreme. But I'll start with one that I was surprised to learn about has actually been around longer than you might think. And what I'm talking about is that green dot, right? The green dot that goes on a quarterback's helmet. And this is what I'm proposing. Actually, before I get to my proposition, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Before I get to my proposition, I did some digging. The actual first transmitter in a helmet was actually done in 1956 by none other than Paul Brown. And he had some engineers that were on his staff, and they created a headset. So in 1956, they were able to create that. The other teams noticed, hey, the Browns aren't really substituting like they used to. Like they're kind of doing things different and weird. And then they found out, oh, here's a radio tower behind a light pole or something. So other teams scrambled to try and create their own version of this electronic headset. In 1956, the Browns got away with using it in 3 games, and at that point, it was banned. QBs officially received it overall in the NFL in 1994. So since 1994, quarterbacks have been able to hear the plays from the coaches. Now, here's a fun fact that I thought was a bit crazy. It wasn't until 2008, that's almost 10 years, right? Because, 2014, let's see, 1994, 95, 96, 97. It's a long ass time. I'm not going to sit here and count with y'all, but it's a long ass time from 1994 to 2008. It wasn't until 2008 that they allowed one defender to have the same for fairness and for competitive advantage. And then in 2014, the referees got headsets in 2014 that allowed them to communicate amongst each other, and more on those refs and their conversations later. It's a little foreshadowing right there. But what I want in my future NFL, I need all 11 players plugged into that play call. I'm talking green dots for everybody. It's only the next logical step, right? Teams are already using signs and hand signals to talk to different position groups, at least defensively, right? The green dot doesn't provide a big advantage if the play call on defense only covers like the fit of the front 7, while the DBs are still getting signals from the DB coach about the coverage call, right? So the reason why I want everybody to have the headset is that I also want to take the green dot to the next level. Because that's what we do here at Big Block Sports. We go big, and I'm calling it the gold dot. So again, everybody, we're going to get rid of the dots for the most part. Right now, they have the green dot, so you know who has the microphone, but we're going to get rid of the dots because everybody is going to have that transmitter. But one quarterback, the quarterbacks, I should say, and for defense, the middle linebacker, or I know there's some teams where it's actually the safety or a veteran player on defense that has the transmitter. But I'm calling it the gold dot. And this gold dot helmet has a microphone. Yes. So the QB and the coach can now openly run the play and concepts with all other 10 guys, right? So here's my imagination running wild, right? Could you imagine Jimmy G getting on the field? And look, first of all, he's on the field and he's not injured. So, hey, thumbs up to that. But yes, he gets the play call from Shanahan, right? Players are already on the line ready to go because they already just heard the play. Or maybe it's Trey Lance in the huddle. And Shanahan's going to ask Trey, first of all, how does your knee feel? Because I'm still concerned he wasn't at practice so far earlier this week. But if his knee's okay, he can say, hey, I'm good, coach, right? So Shanahan can have that conversation before the timer runs out with Lance in the middle of, again, the plays. And then Shanahan calls the play to the right, and Lance says, hold up, coach. McGlinchey's on the right side. I don't want to go over there. McGlinchey's been getting worked all game, every game. Can we please run to the left? And the coach says, yes, we can go to the left. And all the other players are like, thank God we are going to the left behind Trent Williams. And the play works. Gold dot helmets, my first future initiative for the NFL. Mark that down. Gold dot helmets. You heard it here first. What's next? Next, when it comes to the future of my NFL, I want something to fix the NFL spot system. I look at a sport like soccer and how they've embraced the chip in the soccer ball since 2012. They've even taken a page out of the NFL's handbook by beginning VAR, the video assistant referee, which is basically replay review for soccer. I've read it and I've read about it and I looked into it because I thought like, hey, why aren't they like this seems easy money for the NFL, right? And I read some articles that made a good point. It's a traditional thing, right? It's a tradition thing. Moving the chains, like everyone that watches football, that phrase, move the chains, it rings in their head. And in the literal sense, right, it's almost as iconic as the football helmet itself, right? The football helmet, the football, the chains, the referees, the stripes, like these things are icons of the game. You know, and there's always something magical just about the suspense of them setting the ball down. Two elderly guys run out with stripes, right? They set the chain, they pull it slow, first down, right? If you're listening on audio, I just kind of hit my arm there doing my first my first down signal. Don't be alarmed. But you know, those things I can see where, you know, the traditional element of the chains and everything you know, have certain nostalgia, right? Now, what I will say to that is look at a sport like baseball where they're not willing to let go of that nostalgia. And I feel like in so many ways, there's all these unwritten rules in baseball that have been around for ages and ages, preventing the game from really evolving into something else. And I don't want the NFL to end up like that. Everything has to evolve. Everything changes. And low-key, there's so many bad spots on Sundays. There's no consistency. Some people mark it where the ball's down. Maybe his hip is down. His you know, his knees here. The ball's here. There's just no consistency. And the goal line calls. You know, like we saw Dak Prescott just this past week. It looked like he scored. He kind of fumbled. Like, you know, there was something there. There wasn't anything. It was just a weird goal line call. I do love the pylon cam. And that's what I mean, right? Like you can do this, NFL. You can figure this out. I know there's the common rebuttal. This is the other rebuttal that I saw all over online when I started researching microchips in the footballs and things like that. Where obviously the player is down when his knee is down. The ball could be up here in his hand. It could be, you know, over here. So it may not match up specifically his knee being down, the ball being down. Cool. My rebuttal to that rebuttal is very simple. Figure it out. Figure it out. All 32 teams last season, and this is the COVID season where it was a short end. The CBA, we're out of money, we're broke. Last year, the NFL team still generated $12.2 billion. Not million, $1 billion. Put chips in the knee pads, put cameras on the ball, like $12 billion. Now that was down from $15 billion the year before. $15 billion was actually up from like $13 billion the year before that. So we're talking billions of dollars every year that these teams are generating. They can figure it out, right? These same NFL teams, this same league figured out a way to scout hundreds of college players when they couldn't travel in the middle of a pandemic. They were able to do virtual workouts, virtual meetings, scouting, all that virtually. The entire draft was virtual. Hundreds of cameras all over everywhere. They had cameras everywhere, people's houses. They had Bill Belichick's dog in front of a camera. Like there were cameras everywhere. Technology was everywhere. And what comes with fancy technology besides the cost of this technology? What comes with it? Well, technicians. There has to be employees to connect, run, monitor all of these things. And those people make good money. So I know the NFL has the money to make it happen. I know these teams have the money to make it happen. I know they can hire people who are smart enough to figure out how to make it happen. So NFL, make it happen, bro. Put a chip in the ball, you know, use something like let's use lasers for the first downs instead of chains. Like there has to be a way that we can figure this out. I trust you guys. Goodell, I trust in you. You can figure this out. We can make this happen. This is the future of the NFL that I want. Got to fix that spot. We got to do something with that. My next item on the list, and like I said, as we continue to go on, we get a little more extreme, right? Hey, the first one, green dot, gold dot helmets. All right, warming up. Next one, microchips in the balls. Ooh, we're getting crazy now. Next one, we've got the pylon cam. We've got 4K cameras floating around that follows the action from sideline to sideline, right? We now got those Sony cameras on the sideline with the portrait mode shots that are sweet. They even brought those into the NBA, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the angles or what, I don't know. It just doesn't look as impressive on the NBA games than it does in an NFL game. I think the first time I saw the shots last season, it was, I just almost made up a word. But the word I was gonna use, it reminded me of the gladiators, right? And these players and their armors and the fans, you see them blurred out in the background and you hear all the noise. It was just very gladiatorial, and that's not a word, but that's the best way I can describe it. It was very historical, and it just made the game seem so massive and gladiator-like. And, this is big block sports, right? We go big. And what the future holds in the big block sports, future NFL, is first-person helmet cameras. Imagine being able to see what an NFL player sees during the game, right? Outside of adding the in-game angles, and this is just from a television standpoint, right? They already, do the telestrator on different, on the end zone angle or on a side angle or on a one-on-one, they draw out the route. So they already use multiple camera angles during a game. Adding that first-person helmet view just adds another dynamic for the color commentator to talk about, for the broadcast to highlight in the beginning of the game, the end of the game, during the game. So outside of adding to the in-game angles for entertainment purposes, I think another aspect are, like I said, the coaches, right? They have the opportunity to review players' first-person footage, to really understand their eyes and what they see. It would help enhance the game basically at every opportunity, even if it's just for the learning opportunity that the coaches will get, right? So they'll be able to track, hey, if I'm a linebacker and the coach is reviewing the film and he sees my head turning this way when the play is going that way, the coach is going to be like, hey, what the hell are you looking at? Now, so that's a great learning opportunity that I think a first-person helmet camera would allow for. Not the obvious quarterback, right? You can see the quarterback reading, scanning the defense first person from a coach. You have an idea of what he might have been looking at, but that first-person helmet camera will give you the exacts. From a fandemonium standpoint, right? We all love the NFL. Kids have favorite players. Some teams that are playing football model their game after their favorite players. With this additional camera, fans can now basically almost play in the game along with their favorite players, right? Imagine being able to watch how your favorite QB reads the blitz from his point of view. What about going face-to-face with Devontae Adams because your favorite player is a DB? I think it'll bring something to the NFL that it doesn't currently have, like some of the other leagues, like the NBA and Major League Baseball. And the advantages that those two leagues have over the NFL, and this is psychological, are faces. Now, sure, us hardcore football fans, we know what players look like. We can make out their, we may not even be into their face. But when we talk about women watching football, and I'm not talking about like there's women that watch hardcore football. I'm not talking about those, but watching along with their boyfriend, they don't really want to watch the game. They can watch NBA games because there's players that they can see. They can watch MLB games because they all got on tights and they comment on their butts. It might be guys too, whatever you're into. It's 2021. But the face, right? The NBA game has those faces. You can make it out. You can see it. And so much of when we talk about social media, it's all about the face and facial expressions. The most popular TikToks have to do with facial expressions and people's faces and how they react to things. So I think adding that first person camera, again, like I said, could you imagine if your favorite player is like Trayvon Diggs and you get to see him face to face with Devontae Adams as he runs this route, eyes, moving, cutting, closing, bracing for hits. The camera would show it all. I'm trying to turn the NFL into a first person shooter because I feel like Madden 2027 would be crazy with the first person angle. So next agenda on the future of the Big Block Sports NFL, first person helmet cams. All right, let's get wild here. Are we ready? I don't know what this is with my hand here. If you're listening on Spotify to the audio, don't worry about it. The hand thing is getting awkward. But this one could be considered a little controversial. The audience that would like this may be small, but it may be a mighty small audience that would be like, yo, that's a great idea. And by audience, I mean supporters, of course. Like I said, this is Big Block Sports. It is not Safe Block Sports. It's not tiptoe through the whole block sports, right? It's Big Block Sports. The next innovation of the NFL is putting fans right into one of the tightest brotherhoods in the NFL, right? There's several brotherhoods in the NFL. I feel like this one might be one of the most tightest, closely guarded, kept brotherhoods in the NFL. We're not quite really sure how these people act, what sort of individuals these people are. And I'm talking about the referees, the on-field referees. And what am I talking about? Well, I'm not talking about cameras or something like that. I don't know. Who knows what refs look at half the time? Sometimes you're like, he wasn't looking at that play because if he did, he wouldn't have threw that flag. But imagine watching the game. There's a flag at a critical moment. The refs start doing their pointing and huddling up in a circle. And one runs to the sideline and asks the coach. And it's an entire ordeal. You're just on bated breath. What do we need? We need mics. We need mics for the referees, for us, the fans. We want mics. I want to know what the discussion is. What's it like? Are some refs like timid? Like they're like, hey, kind of think I saw a hold over there, and then the senior ref is like, yeah, that was a hold. Call it. Or do refs argue? Are there like negotiations during this? We sometimes I got something in my eye here. It is throwing me off. Okay. We sometimes, I see it. Maybe it could be real. Could all be conspiracy. The makeup call, right? We feel like in certain situations, there's a missed call on one side of the field. So then the referees get a little more flagrant with the flag to make up for it. Is that real? What are the discussions like? The refs, are they really people? And again, I know the game isn't really about the refs. So again, like I said, this one may be a little controversial. And I know the game isn't about the refs, but let's be honest, the more, right? The more they try, more and more the game is always about the refs. And not as a diss. It's just the facts, right? Games are won or lost in the NFL because of one flag. One missed call sometimes. Maybe if we heard how detailed and structured their calls are, we'd be less inclined to feel like they got a personal vendetta against us. So many times we feel like, oh, that we got that ref. Oh no, he always calls terrible penalties. But then if we get a chance to hear how he sounds, how he elaborates on why he feels like it's a penalty, you might say, hey, that guy's all right. It changes the way we see our refs. And again, might be a small audience that supports that, but I feel like entertainment value, being able to hear the refs' discussions, being able to hear the different personalities come out of our referees, I think is a great opportunity for us in the big block sports NFL. Make it happen, Roger. Make it happen. I got one honorable mention. So that was my list. I'll just go back through it really quick again. Full team green dot headsets. We're getting rid of the green dot. We're bringing in the gold dot with the mic. You can put it right into the face mask. You don't even need to. It'll be wild. Microchip technology, digital first down markers. Figure that out. Make that happen. First-person helmet cams. Again, first-person shooters, first-person helmet cams. Makes perfect sense to me. And then the last, I want to hear what the refs are talking about. Put a mic on. It doesn't have to go to the players and the teams. We could see how that could be, a little sketch during the games. But for us watching at home, let us hear it. We want to know. We want to understand. What are you guys talking about so long? It was obviously not pass interference on Josh Norman. Why are you talking about it? But my honorable mention is minor league football. And it's the same theme as above. $12 billion last year, and somehow the NFL can't seem to, or they just don't want to. I'm going to lean this is probably a will issue more than a skill issue. They don't want to create a development league. The practice squad is not a place for development. No one gets better running other teams' plays. No one gets better at understanding the nuances of the game and game planning, in-game adjustments, in-game speed, practicing on the practice squad. Not traveling, just watching, practicing. Where's the G League? NFL style, right? NFL has sat around, watched the XFL, flounder. AFL came around, seemed a little more destined for success. Seemed like it was almost, they never officially sponsored the AFL, but you saw old ex-NFL coaches in maybe that was the XFL, but the AFL came around. The value seemed more in tune, like I said, with being a development league, and they floundered. They couldn't even finish the season. I wonder if the NFL is concerned that a newcomer would infringe upon their billion-dollar pots. It almost seems like they're not willing to invest in their talent base. I don't get it. Not every kid out of college is ready for the NFL, and I think the next evolution is to create a pathway. I know there's the CFL and all these arena leagues, but those are different games. If you really want to prevent, especially with the COVID season, we saw Hinton for the Broncos come in and have to play quarterback because everybody else, all the other quarterbacks were not available. If you want to fix that, create a developmental league, create a minor league, just like baseball, just like every other major league has some sort of a developmental league. They just don't rely on college players. So that's my honorable mention, some sort of minor league football. They can do it. I know they can do it. And that's the future of my NFL. Big block sports, NFL future. Gold dot headsets. I really love the gold dot headsets. I love it. I love the microchip technology in the football. Figure out a way to, first down. Like, I want to know for sure it's a first down. You remember the guy broke out the little card because it was so close. He had to put a card in between the football and the first down marker. What is this? Are we in the 40s right now? Like, come on, it's 2021, bro. Put some chips in something. First person helmet cam. Again, more access for the fans, more access for the coaches. And let me hear what the refs are talking about. I want to know. This is Big Block Sports, episode 7A. Again, go ahead and click over episode B for this week's picks and predictions. Again, appreciate you joining. Go ahead and go ahead and subscribe. If you're listening on Castbox, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, go ahead and subscribe, whatever it is you do on those platforms to get notifications about new episodes. Let me know. I appreciate you guys coming back this week. Enjoy football. 49ers back on the schedule this week. Big Block Sports. We out.